So William is not taking any more crap from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
I think that they are at the moment facing a real crisis. Meghan and Harry's crisis, completely of their own making.
Prince William doubles down. According to multiple sources, it's now a matter of when, not if, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
They also love to shit talk Meghan Markle. I got one from a welder the other day.
No way.
Oh, Prince William has had enough. And this time, it's not just frustration simmering behind palace walls. He's reportedly ready to bring in his legal team. No warm-up, no polite royal small talk. This situation jumps straight into high-stakes territory. A future King of England preparing possible legal action against his own brother over their mother's name. Over a promise made between two grieving sons, a promise that now looks like it may no longer mean the same thing to both of them. Today we're breaking down the alleged Diana documentary plan, the so-called broken brotherhood promise, and the behind-the-scenes influence many believe pushed William past his limit. We're also looking at the legal reality. Can something like this actually be stopped? And later, we'll touch on that NBA courtside moment that had body language experts and royal watchers whispering about the state of this marriage. There are layers to this, and every single one matters. Let's set the scene clearly. Princess Diana's 30th passing anniversary falls in 2027. That date alone carries enormous emotional weight. At the same time, Harry and Meghan are reportedly working under a scaled-back media arrangement after their original $100 million Netflix agreement was not renewed under the same terms. Now reports suggest they may be developing a new documentary focused on Princess Diana, her life, her battles with the press, her strained relationship with the monarchy, and the lasting emotional impact her loss had on her two sons. On the surface, some people might ask,
He was like, yeah, like I'm in the shop all the time. I used to catch a ton of shit for listening to your show. And then one day I was like, you got to come over here and hear what the Nerve is saying about Meghan Markle. And they were like, all into
Oh,
it.
don't mind if we do.
Don't mind if I do.
They're more desperate than ever. And I think that they don't know what to do other than to try and come back to Britain and rebuild themselves as some sort of members of the royal family.
He's now considering all options, including legal routes, to stop his younger brother, who he views as a treacherous soul these days.
Well, you're making me nervous. I want to tell you, in America, a lot of the tabloids are talking about how Harry and Meghan are experiencing difference in their interests and professional paths.
what's wrong with that? She was his mother. He loved her deeply. He has every right to speak about her and share his memories. That argument makes sense at first glance. But here's where it becomes complicated. Back in 2017, marking the 20th anniversary of Diana's passing, William and Harry stood side by side. Together, they produced two major, carefully crafted documentaries, one for the BBC and one for ITV. Those projects were personal, emotional, and handled with remarkable sensitivity. Viewers saw two brothers revisiting their childhood memories, speaking openly about grief and honoring their mother in a way that felt respectful rather than commercial. And when those documentaries were complete, the brothers reportedly reached a mutual understanding. No more large-scale anniversary productions. No more revisiting the most painful chapter of their lives for public consumption. Diana's legacy would be preserved with dignity, not continually repackaged. That was the spirit of the agreement. Nothing was signed. There were no legal contracts. It wasn't that kind of arrangement. It was something far more personal. A gentleman's agreement between two brothers who had just spent months reopening emotional wounds for the sake of tribute. They had stood together publicly to protect what remained of their mother's dignity. It was about respect, about closure.
Meghan focused on Hollywood, as you just mentioned.
And it's all gone wrong for her. And Meghan doesn't like things going wrong for her. And Harry has very little to add to the party. But that isn't enough to satisfy him. So I think there's a huge crisis coming, which will redouble all the problems for King Charles and William.
You know, he is the heir to the throne, and I don't think that there are many companies that really want him to be absolutely disgusted by them. I don't think that's a good idea for anybody, and I would hope that if he couldn't do it via legal things, that actually to be very, very sure. You never know.
But Harry has no shame about this stuff, Angela, does he?
Harry was, I think it was at a public function
in LA.
About moving forward. Now, according to insiders, that understanding may be unraveling. If a new documentary moves forward without William's involvement or approval, it could feel, to him, like a line has been crossed. Not legally, perhaps, but emotionally. And that's where this story shifts from media speculation into something deeply personal. Because this isn't just about streaming contracts or anniversary programming, it's about trust. It's about whether a private promise between brothers still holds weight when business opportunities enter the picture. Royal observers say William sees Diana's memory as something sacred, something to be handled sparingly and with extreme care. Others argue Harry believes he has his own voice and perspective, and that telling his truth is part of his healing process. And then there's the broader context. The relationship between the brothers has reportedly been strained for years. Public interviews, memoir revelations, and ongoing media coverage have only widened that gap. So when reports of a potential new Diana project surfaced,
A brother, who he views as a treacherous soul these days, from exploiting Princess Diana for money and allowing Meghan Markle to exploit Princess Diana for money, so she is in some way connected by the...
it didn't land in a neutral space. It landed in the middle of an already fragile dynamic. The financial angle also adds complexity. After their initial high-value streaming agreement shifted, speculation has grown about what projects might come next. A documentary centered on Princess Diana would undeniably attract global attention. That reality alone makes the situation feel sensitive. Supporters of Harry argue he has every right to reflect on his mother's life and legacy, especially as a son who experienced intense public scrutiny from a young age. Critics counter that repeated media projects risk turning something deeply personal into ongoing public content. Meanwhile, William's reported response, consulting legal advice, signals how seriously he may view this. Even if no formal legal action materializes, the fact that lawyers are reportedly involved shows the depth of concern. It suggests this isn't just a disagreement, it's a potential flashpoint. And that's where the so-called broken brotherhood promise becomes central. Was it simply a moment in time? Or was it a lasting commitment meant to protect Diana's memory from future commercialization? Without a signed contract, it becomes a matter of interpretation and emotion. As for Meghan's alleged influence, some royal commentators believe she plays a significant strategic role in shaping projects and public messaging. Others strongly reject that narrative and argue it unfairly places responsibility on her. The truth is likely more nuanced than either extreme suggests. What remains undeniable is this: Diana's legacy continues to hold extraordinary power. Decades after her passing, her name still commands headlines, emotions, and intense loyalty from the public. Any project connected to her will immediately carry weight.
She recently attended an NBA game, and because she doesn't really like publicity, she sat courtside with Harry and had to nudge him to smile for the camera. We've actually gone so far as to slow it down to slow-mo.
And controversy. And with 2027 approaching, the clock is ticking. Whether this reported documentary moves forward or quietly fades away, the tension surrounding it has already reignited questions about loyalty, legacy, and where the line between tribute and business truly sits. At its core, this isn't just about a film. It's about two brothers, a shared history, and a promise that may now be standing on shaky ground. The kind of understanding that, in a healthy relationship built on integrity, doesn't need ink on paper or signatures from lawyers. That's what makes this situation hit harder, because now it appears Harry may feel that agreement no longer applies to him. And for Prince William, that realization reportedly landed like a punch to the gut. Sources close to William describe his reaction as raw and deeply emotional. Not calm, not strategic, emotional. Palace insiders aren't using polite, careful language either. Words like sickening, deeply distressing, and betrayal have reportedly been used behind closed doors. That's not minor disappointment. That's something that cuts deep. And according to multiple reports, William is now actively consulting legal advisors to explore what, if anything, can be done to stop this documentary from moving forward. But here's the key detail. William's anger isn't just about the documentary itself existing, it's about who is shaping it. Sources claim Meghan Markle has a significant behind-the-scenes role in developing the project, and that single detail is reportedly what shifted William's reaction from frustration into something much more intense. Because while William has privately acknowledged that Harry has every right to speak about their mother, She was his mother, too. Meghan never met Princess Diana. There is no shared history there. No personal memory.
Sickening and deeply depressing and distressing. Their words actually are distressing, I should get that right. Harry and his wife Meghan are understood to be developing the Diana documentary project as part of their multi-million-dollar deal with the streaming service following their decision to step back from royal duties. Sources said the film would examine Diana's life, her treatment by the media and the monarchy, and the impact of her death on her sons.
No lived experience of that loss. William understands that both he and Harry carry real grief. They processed it differently, yes, but the loss shaped both of them forever. That part is not disputed. What changes the emotional equation, according to insiders, is the idea that someone outside that direct experience may now help shape how Diana's legacy is presented to the world. And then there's the business layer. Harry and Meghan are operating under a revised media arrangement after their original large-scale streaming agreement shifted. Industry analysts have openly discussed how important their next major project could be. A global documentary tied to Princess Diana's name would undoubtedly generate massive attention. That's not speculation. That's reality. Critics of the plan argue that this makes the situation feel transactional. Supporters argue it's simply storytelling from a personal perspective. Two very different interpretations, and neither side is backing down. According to those close to William, his concern isn't about silencing Harry. He reportedly accepts that his brother has his own voice and his own memories. What troubles him, insiders claim, is the idea of Diana's legacy being shaped within a commercial production framework, influenced by someone who did not personally know her. From that perspective, it stops feeling like a tribute and starts feeling like branding. And that's where emotions intensify. There's also history here that adds another layer. Over the years, media narratives have drawn comparisons between Meghan and Diana, the outsider who struggled within the institution, the compassionate figure navigating intense press attention.
Documentaries, one for the BBC, one for ITV, for the 20th anniversary, because that was their option of actually preserving her legacy. That was how they chose to do it. And so to say now that in some way that 20th anniversary documentary was hijacked by the palace is just wrong.
Some of those comparisons came from commentators. Some were fueled by public discussion. William has largely remained silent publicly on that topic. But insiders have repeatedly suggested that, privately, those comparisons have not sat well with him. For William, Diana isn't a symbolic archetype. She isn't a media narrative. She is his mother, a real person, a personal loss. So when public storytelling begins to mirror certain themes or imagery, it reportedly feels uncomfortable. Still, this is where the reality check enters the conversation. Legally, blocking a documentary like this would be extremely difficult. Princess Diana was one of the most recognized public figures in modern history. Harry is her son. There was no signed legal agreement restricting future projects. Both British and American law strongly protect creative expression and documentary production about public figures, including those who have passed. William's legal team can review options. They can advise, they can raise concerns, they could potentially explore intellectual property angles or privacy claims tied to specific materials. But most legal analysts agree that actually stopping a documentary outright would be a steep, uphill battle. In fact, many royal legal commentators suggest that even discussing legal action may serve more as leverage than as a guaranteed solution, a signal of seriousness, a warning shot, a way to apply pressure, behind the scenes rather than a clear path to courtroom victory. So what leverage does William truly have? Reputation, influence, public sentiment, the weight of his future role as monarch. Those factors carry power, even if they aren't formal legal weapons.
Not after the way that he has trashed his own family for the past 6 years. Legally, does what was a gentleman agreement made in public really mean that Harry could be stopped from doing this? I would be surprised. But this is very interesting reporting from Radar Online, which says that Prince Harry is set to lawyer up on Prince Harry to stop him and Meghan churning out what they describe as a sickening Princess Diana 30th death. And
a public expression of disapproval from William could dramatically shift how such a project is received. Silence can sometimes be powerful, but so can visible disapproval. At the same time, Harry and Meghan operate independently. They have built a brand centered around personal storytelling. From interviews to memoirs to documentaries, sharing their perspective has been central to their public strategy. From their viewpoint, exploring Diana's legacy through Harry's eyes could feel authentic. And that's where the clash becomes philosophical rather than legal. Is Diana's legacy something that belongs equally to both sons, to be expressed however each chooses? Or is there an unwritten boundary about how often and in what context her memory should be revisited publicly? That question sits at the heart of this conflict. One side views the project as a meaningful reflection during a major anniversary year. The other side reportedly views it as reopening wounds for global consumption. Neither position is simple. Both are emotionally loaded, and as 2027 approaches, the pressure only builds. The anniversary itself guarantees heightened media attention. Every move will be scrutinized, every production decision dissected. At this point, it's not just about whether a documentary gets made, it's about trust between two brothers whose relationship has already endured significant strain. It's about how legacy, grief, business, and public life collide in ways that few families could ever understand. Legally, the road to stopping this may be narrow. Emotionally, however, the divide feels wide. And if this project moves forward, it won't just be another streaming release. It will represent a turning point, not only in how Princess Diana's story continues to be told, but in how her two sons choose to honor and don't or redefine the promise they once made together. And this is where things get genuinely interesting. Because now we're not just talking about family tension, we're talking about institutional influence at the highest level. Netflix isn't only in business with Harry and Meghan. The platform has also collaborated with King Charles on a recent documentary project. That means they have relationships on both sides of this divide. And let's be real, major streaming companies care deeply about long-term access. Access to the palace, access to royal events, access to future cooperation with a future king. So imagine this scenario. Instead of a dramatic courtroom fight, what if a quiet message is delivered behind closed doors? Not through public threats, not through headlines, but through discreet leadership channels that exist at that level. A private conversation, that makes it clear this project would strain future cooperation. That kind of influence can be far more powerful than any legal filing. And it doesn't stop with Netflix. Amazon partnered with William on a wildlife series. Apple TV Plus worked with him on a mental health project. The streaming world may look massive from the outside, but at the executive level, it's relationship-driven and surprisingly interconnected. Everyone talks. Everyone weighs future partnerships. Harry and Meghan's first look arrangement means Netflix gets the first opportunity to review their ideas. But if Netflix declines, the Diana documentary could be pitched to Amazon or Apple or another global platform. The door doesn't close easily, which is why some observers believe William's most effective move.
In his mind, Diana's memory is not the property of the institution or something that requires his brother's consent. He strongly resists the idea that the palace or anyone else should have the authority to decide how her life is remembered or presented. The source added William's growing anger over the prospect of the film being in planning has been intensified by Markle's role behind the scenes. And that's interesting to me because I think William would concede that Harry at least has a right to talk about their mother, but
wouldn't be suing. It would be ensuring that no major platform feels comfortable touching the project at all. Quietly, strategically, making it clear that cooperation with the future monarch carries long-term value. Whether William would actually pursue that kind of behind-the-scenes pressure remains unknown. It would require resolve. It would require a willingness to escalate an already fragile situation. But the option exists, and in today's media climate, influence often travels further than lawsuits. Now shift gears completely. Because while all of this reportedly unfolds behind palace walls, something else happened this week, and it grabbed massive attention. Harry and Meghan appeared courtside at an NBA game. Front row, maximum visibility, cameras everywhere. The exact type of high-profile setting that guarantees viral footage within minutes. This is where viewers raised eyebrows, because this is the same couple who previously spoke about intense media attention harming their well-being. The same couple who pursued legal action against certain tabloids over privacy concerns. The same couple who said they needed space from constant scrutiny. Yet there they were, seated in one of the most photographed arenas in America on a major game night. When the footage circulated online and people slowed it down, details began to spark discussion. Meghan appeared animated, engaged, scanning the room, aware of the cameras. Harry sat beside her with his hands clasped tightly in his lap.
Of you who believe Harry's narrative that Diana was highly critical of her husband, King Charles, and yes, publicly made clear that she believed he should never take the throne because he was going to marry this divorcee in Camilla, and that the crown should pass directly to William. But did she ever try and destroy the British monarchy? Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. Another insider said Harry's motivation stemmed from long-held grievances. Harry has long felt that his mother's life and death have been poorly handled by those meant to protect her. He believes that at critical moments when Diana needed empathy and support, the institution failed to provide it. As a result, he does not see the monarchy as a credible custodian of her legacy and is adamant that her story should be told outside palace structures. Well, you can understand.
Shoulders angled slightly away. At one point, when a camera locked onto him, she nudged him. He responded with a brief wave. Then he looked away again. Body language commentators quickly weighed in. Some pointed out that Meghan touched him several times during the appearance. They noted that Harry did not visibly reciprocate those gestures in the short clips that went viral. Now, this part is important. Reading an entire marriage based on seconds of courtside footage is not scientific. Couples have off nights. Public appearances are stressful. Harry's complicated history with press attention is well documented. Anyone under that level of scrutiny might appear tense. No one should draw sweeping conclusions from one basketball game. But here's what is undeniable. Sitting courtside in prime camera position was not random. Those seats are intentional. They are high visibility by design. That appearance required coordination. And decisions like that usually serve a purpose. Some sources suggest the outing functioned as a carefully arranged public relations moment, a visible show of unity amid circulating separation rumors in both American and British media. Whether it achieved that goal is debatable, because the images that spread most widely weren't glowing romantic shots. They were freeze frames of Harry looking distant.
30th death anniversary project on their tragic mother. A palace aide warned William is prepared to take this as far as necessary. He is actively exploring every available obstacle that could be placed in the project's path, from legal avenues to institutional influence, and he is willing to use whatever leverage exists to challenge it.
Pensive, almost like his mind was elsewhere. Now connect the threads. Harry and Meghan are navigating real business realities. Their original large-scale Netflix agreement shifted. Several brand ventures haven't delivered the sustained momentum analysts once predicted. The Montecito estate, security, staff, travel, ongoing public relations management. That lifestyle requires substantial and consistent income. Against that backdrop, a major anniversary documentary focused on Princess Diana is not just emotionally compelling, it's commercially logical. Diana remains one of the most globally recognized figures of the late 20th century. A project featuring Harry's personal reflections would generate enormous international interest instantly. From a business standpoint, it would be highly attractive to streaming platforms. It would draw viewers, it would trend, it would make serious money. But here's the question that cuts deeper than revenue projections. What does it cost? Not financially, relationally. By every public account, Harry's relationship with William is already strained to the breaking point. Moving forward with a high-profile commercial project tied to Diana's anniversary, especially with Meghan reportedly shaping it behind the scenes, could permanently close whatever narrow bridge remains between the brothers. There's also the narrative dimension. For years, Harry has framed his public journey around truth, healing, and protecting vulnerable people from institutional harm. That has been central to his message. A Diana anniversary documentary produced within a commercial streaming framework complicates that narrative. Critics will inevitably frame it as monetization of memory. Supporters will frame it as personal storytelling. But perception matters. From William's alleged perspective, it reinforces
he doesn't want to be there, and he doesn't want to be engaging with the media that they ran away from.
Yeah.
Running for their lives.
That I think he genuinely hates.
Oh, I do too.
But she doesn't.
Oh no, she loves it. And you know, the other thing is, like, you go, those seats are very coveted, even among celebrities.
And very expensive.
Courtside seats. And if you go to play.
What he fears, that something sacred is being packaged. From Harry's perspective, it may feel like reclaiming his voice. Two interpretations, one family. And despite the potential fallout, all indications suggest Harry may be determined to proceed. If that's true, then this isn't just a media project, it's a turning point. A moment where business, legacy, loyalty, and identity collide at full force. And once a line like that is crossed, it's very hard to redraw it. His position, as relayed through sources close to him, is clear and unwavering. Diana's memory does not belong to an institution. It does not require approval from a palace office. It does not sit under anyone's control. He is her son. That, in his view, gives him a natural and undeniable right to tell her story in his own way, on his own timeline, through whatever platform he chooses. And if we're being honest, that argument carries weight. No one can question the fact that he lived through that loss. No one can rewrite the reality that she was his mother. Grief is personal. Memory is personal. Perspective is personal. But here's the part that makes this moment so complicated. There is a real difference between having the right to do something and that thing actually being right. Those are two separate conversations. You can have legal standing. You can have moral justification in your own mind. You can even have public support. And still, the decision itself can fracture something that once mattered more than any documentary ever could. Because what we're watching now doesn't feel like a simple disagreement over creative direction. It feels like the final collapse of a brotherhood that once survived something almost unimaginable. Two boys, 15 and 12.
Divorce rumblings swirling all around them go to show the world that like everything's cool.
Yeah, it could have been.
I'm not buying it.
But it really is a joke. Like, honestly, it's the South Park. We want privacy. We want privacy. Front row courtside. You know, it's not like I go to Knicks games with my family. Mm-hmm. I took my young guy, my 12-year-old, just the two of us, and it was super fun. We went as like a mom-son date.
Walking behind their mother's coffin while the entire world watched in silence, that image isn't just history, it's emotional memory for millions of people. The weight on their shoulders was visible. The pressure was enormous. They were children navigating global grief under cameras they never asked for. Years later, those same boys, now grown men, stood side by side again. In 2017, they honored their mother's legacy together, carefully, thoughtfully. They shared stories. They revisited painful moments. They handled it with what many described as dignity and restraint. And when it was done, there was reportedly an understanding between them. That would be enough. No constant anniversary specials, no repeated large-scale productions, no ongoing revisiting of the most painful chapter of their lives for global consumption. It wasn't a signed contract. It wasn't drafted by attorneys. It was a private understanding born from shared grief. Now one of those brothers is reportedly consulting legal advisors over her name, over that understanding, over the possibility of stopping a project that may move forward without his blessing. That is not a small shift. That is seismic. Princess Diana spent much of her life trying to be heard clearly. She struggled under intense media attention. She worried about how her sons would be affected by it. She wanted them protected. She wanted them emotionally safe. She often spoke about ensuring they would grow into strong, balanced men despite the spotlight around them. She deserved better support during her lifetime. Most people agree on that. And now her legacy is at the center of a new storm, not between palace and press, not between monarchy and media, but between her own sons. Supporters of Harry argue this is about reclaiming narrative control. They say he has lived for decades under interpretations crafted by others. They say telling his perspective during a milestone anniversary is part of personal healing. They say grief evolves, and so does storytelling. Critics counter with different questions. They point to financial realities. They note that large media deals have shifted. They observe that maintaining a high-profile lifestyle requires consistent revenue. They see the timing and connect it to business strategy. From that angle, the documentary looks less like healing and more like commercial logic. And that's the tension that makes this moment so difficult to untangle. Because both things can exist at the same time. A project can be emotionally meaningful and financially strategic. A son can want to honor his mother while also recognizing the global demand for her story. Intent and outcome don't always line up cleanly. But perception matters. For William, according to those familiar with his thinking, this crosses into territory that feels sacred. He reportedly views Diana's legacy as something to be approached sparingly and protected carefully. To him, repeated large-scale productions risk reopening wounds, not just privately, but publicly. From Harry's perspective, silence may feel like surrender. He has built much of his post-royal identity around openness, around speaking candidly about trauma, about institutional pressure, about mental health. A documentary tied to his mother's anniversary could feel like a natural extension of that mission. So what we are left with is not a simple right or wrong scenario. We are left with two worldviews that no longer align, one rooted in preservation, one rooted in expression. And in the middle of that clash sits a memory that shaped both of them forever. If this project moves forward, it won't just mark another media release, it will represent a line that cannot easily be uncrossed. Because once legal advisors are consulted, once influence is applied behind the scenes, once platforms are pressured or persuaded, the relationship itself changes permanently. Reconciliation becomes harder, trust becomes thinner, and what remains is distance. The painful part is this: the image of those two young boys will always exist in public memory. It reminds people that before the titles, before the interviews, before the business deals, they were simply brothers sharing a loss. Now that shared experience appears to be pulling them further apart instead of holding them together. So here's the question that matters most. Not the one about streaming contracts or legal strategy, but the one about motive. Do you believe Harry is genuinely trying to honor his mother in the only way he knows how? Or do you think the pressures of finance, relevance, and public narrative have started to outweigh the quiet promise once made between two brothers? This conversation is far from finished. Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about it. If you found this deep dive helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more thoughtful breakdowns, and share it with others who are following this story closely. I'll see you in the next one.